Të dashur miq, edhe njerë se shohim ku fillon, tani fillon. Të dashur miq edhe armiq, selam aleikum. Takohemi sot, u flas nga Ontario e Kanadas dhe si shpesh herë do të bëjmë një video komentuese me mikun tim nga Durrësi, Shqipëria, Gjergji Thanasin. Komenti që do bëjmë sot ka të bëjë me një ngjarje të tmerrshme që ka ndodhur në Shqipëri përpara 5 ditësh. Komanda e lartë Mujahedine, e cila fshihet nëpër vrimat e kampit jihadist të Manzës, ka botuar një letër në emër të Komitetit të Sigurisë dhe kundër terrorizmit të Këshillit Kombëtar të Rezistencës së Iranit. Personi që domethënë fshihet pas këtij emri kaq të madh është një mujahedin me mustaqe sikur Speedy Gonzales, që quhet Mehdi Abrichamtchi, një ish komandant i Saddam Husseinit, i ka duart e përlyera me gjak, por që tani si terrorist të dalë në pension që ata janë, merren me hapjen e trakteve kundër armiqve të revolucionit. Dhe në këtë lajm që këta kanë votuar, në faqen e tyre jihadiste, lajmi është me titull Demaskimi i detajeve të fushatës demonizuese, spionazhit dhe kurtheve terroriste nga Ministeria e Inteligjencës e Regjimit të Iranit dhe ambasada në Shqipëri. Në këtë lajm me këtë titull kaq bombastik, mujahedinët kanë botuar një letër të një defektori të xhihadit me emrin Hadi Sani Khani, të cilin e ka intervistuar edhe Gjergji më herët, një fukara, alhamdulillah, pas ka zënë korona këtu në Kanada, i cili jetonte në dëshpërim në rrugët e Tiranës, të cilin mujahedinët e kanë trafikuar për në Francë. Hadi Sani Khani, në letrën e tij që ka shkruar, ka vendosur t'ia fusi të gjithë shokëve të tij, t'i shpalli ata si agent iranian, dhe ndër të tjera edhe mua me Gjergjin na ka treguar si gazetar që jemi në shërbim të Iranit dhe marrim nga 1.000 euro në muaj, apo jo Gjergji? Dhe i marrim në përzarfa këto lekë.
Na i sjellën te shtëpia, na i sjellën te shtëpia. Jo, mirë.
1.000 euro
në taksi, kupton? Sigur të jetë në taksi.
Nuk është keq, mirë është. Tani Gjergji, ta kthejmë në gjuhën anglosaksone bisedën?
Patjetër.
Okay, so dear friends and everybody who sees our videos, today me from Olsi Jazexhi from Toronto in Canada, I'm speaking to my friend in Albania, Gjergji Thanasi, and today we're going to discuss a great scandal that happened in Albania on 17th of February 2021. The Mujahedin ex-terrorist organization, which is hosted by the Albanian government, has issued a press release in their jihadi website, known otherwise as the National Council of Resistance of Iran. The head of the Committee on Security and Counter-Terrorism, who is Mr. Mehdi Abrichamtchi, otherwise the first husband of the president-elect of the Iranian opposition, Maryam Rajavi, he has issued a press release claiming that this committee of these retired ex-terrorists, they have found, or they are unmasking details of demonization campaign, espionage, and terrorist plots by the Iranian regime Ministry of Intelligence and Embassy in Albania. So in this letter that Mehdi Abrichamtchi, the ex-killer and butcher of Saddam Hussein, who now claims to be himself the guy who fights terrorism. So in this letter, they have published a letter written by a guy called Hadi Sani Khani. Hadi Sani Khani was 41 years old, Iranian. He had left Iran for Turkey in 2003 with his desire to end up in Germany or in Canada, like many Iranians do, but accidentally he was taken hostage by the Iranian Mojahedens. And he stayed with the Iranian Mujahedens until 2016, and after landing in Albania, he defected from the jihadi camp, and he was living in freedom in Albania. But as Mr. Gjergji Thanasi have shown in one of the interviews that he had with Mr. Hadi Sani Khani, he was living in poverty in Albania. He was working as waiter for 14 hours per day, and he was barely surviving. But Hadi was very vocal on condemning the terror that exists inside the concentration camp, or the Mujahedin camp that we have in the city of Manza of Tirana, and he had joined many other defectors. However, after suffering, as it seems, under huge poverty, Albanian government does not give working papers to Mujahedin defectors. He suddenly smuggled himself into probably Greece, and from Greece in France. He was poor, and what has happened, at least from what we know from his friends, Hadi was offered money by the Mujahedin command. They had offered him a way out of Albania to illegally smuggle himself into France, and in exchange for this financial and illegal human trafficking help, he had to give something in return to the Mujahedins. So what he gave to them in return, he wrote a letter with accusations, blaming all his defecting friends who live in Tirana, who are the opposition of the Mujahedins, and accusing all of them of being Iranian agents. And among others, Mr. Hadi Sani Khani mentioned even me and Mr. Thanasi by name, claiming that we receive money from the Iranian regime every month. In response to this letter, myself, I wrote a letter to the people to whom Mehdi Abrichamtchi directed the letter, which is the Secretary General of United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres. I sent the copy of this letter to the French Minister of Interior, and this letter was sent also to a number of European personalities to whom the Mujahedins had also sent their letter. It was sent even to the Chief Police of, to the General Director of State Police of Albania, Mr. Ardi Veliu, and also to the Interior Minister of Albania, Mr. Blendi Čuči. Now, in this letter, I argue and I explain that Mr. Hadi Sani Khani was illegally trafficked from Albania to a European country, and the Albanian government must discover how MEK, Maryam Rajavi, Mehdi Abrichamtchi, and the Mujahedin command smuggled this person into France. Now, after writing this infamous letter full of lies, which it is understandable, even us, if we are in difficulty, we might become like Judah the Iscariot and lie against our friends. After writing this letter, Mr. Hadi Sani Khani have gone into total hiding and blackout. His family and friends, they want to know his whereabouts. Probably French police want to know his whereabouts. In the letter that me and Gjergji, we directed to a number of world personalities, we asked to investigate if during his smuggling into France, Mr. Hadi Sani Khani probably even had weapons with him, and probably our fear is that he even might be used to carry out a false flag terrorist operation on behalf of MEK in order to create an incident and sabotage the Iranian nuclear deal that the American and European governments are trying to sign again. Now, pardon me for my lengthy introduction. I want to invite my friend Gjergji Thanasi to explain more what is going on.
I knew personally poor Hadi. I interviewed him. He was, as you said, one of the defectors from MEK, that Rajavi Cult. He was leading an almost normal life in Tirana. Of course, it was more than survival, but he had problems. Not just working 14 hours as a waiter, he had problems because his family in Iran had done several investments, buying a new, rather expensive car, Iranian-made car, you know, those Saifas, repairing the house there, etc. So they were sending him little money. Anyway, little money plus the wage as a waiter is enough for one who is not married, who has no kids to bring up. So he could lead a normal life in Tirana, having a pizza here and there, a coffee, a thing, nothing special, but a normal life, much better than in that camp, COVID-19 ridden with death, with illness, a kind of lazaretto, as Ashraf-Free camp at Manas has become. Yet, poor Hadi had a problem. He was a drug addict. He consumed, he used a substance under control called tramadol. It is under control, so you cannot buy it at the chemist shop without a doctor's prescription. In case you have no doctor's prescription, you will buy it in the black market, meaning it costs a lot. And Hadi, with his wage and the money he received from his family, simply could not afford the advice of the drug. He was a drug addict, Hadi. I'm saying was in past tense because the whereabouts of poor are not known. I don't know whether he is alive in Paris, whether he is not anymore in Paris, whether he is dead, whether he is in hiding, etc., etc. So that nefarious cult called MEK, Rajavi Cult, found a weak link in, how can I say, in the chainmail worn by Hadi, his addiction to drugs, and they used it against him. He needed money to buy drugs. He had not enough money. The wages are those that are low wages in Tirana, plus little money from the family. He needed money for his drugs. And this was the hook to catch the fish called poor Hadi. He came into contact with MEK representatives in Albania, Rajavi Cult representatives. I know the Iranian who put poor Hadi in contact with Rajavi Cult. Again, he has married an Albanian. He has fathered a kid with her. This Albanian belongs to the Gypsy minority in Albania. I'm giving those pieces of info in order to show the cult that I do know things. After being in contact with them, it was late January. I have to consult my notes. Not January, November. It was late November. He got on a car in Tirana and he left for South Albania. Then according to my Greek colleagues, He crossed into Greece, helped by an Albanian passer, that is an Albanian guide. He crossed illegally into Greece near the cross-border point of Bota, or what the Greeks call Mavros Sayada, something like this. It is in the most southern tip of Albania, south of Saranda, south of the small town of Konispoli. He entered Greece. He didn't travel on foot or by bus. Taxi G, meaning a taxi driver, a cab driver, picked him up. He was well paid, the cab driver, and he ended in Athens. I don't know where he stayed in Athens, but according to two Greek colleagues, two Greek journalists, at least he was seen a couple of times in the area of Glyfada on the beach. It is not luxurious, but yeah, middle class area, drinking coffee. Then he or the persons accompanying him bought for him a forged passport belonging to a EU country, a rather new entry to European Union. The passport was bought from the representative, the Greek believe, of Afghan mafia. The person who sold the passport spoke Pashtun and also some Arabic. I don't know the price of the passport. Maybe it was something around 700 euros, so one can reckon how much to pay the taxi driver from Tirana to the Greek-Albanian border, then the passer to cross the border, then the Greek taxi taxi driver to pick him up and to send him to Athens, and then to stay in Athens, a safe house, shelter, food, cigarettes, coffee here and there.
And probably even tramadol.
The ticket to fly from Greece to France. He entered France without problems, so there is something wrong with the security in French airports. And French colleagues were a little bit concerned about this security failure in their airport in Paris. So he entered France. I believe he entered France late December at the beginning of January, but I have no fixed date because my Greek friends are using their contacts with the immigration authorities, Greek immigration authorities, in order to find through a computer program, face recognition computer program, what passport Hadi used, poor Hadi, I will say, used in order to board a plane in Athens and to end in Paris. So this is the story. They made use of his drug addiction in order to capture him and to use him as a tool. Yet the story of poor Hadi is not over. It's not over yet. Now we've got problems with French Gendarmerie Nationale, and also with French counter-terrorism, because French think that he might be a security risk to the French public. His case has attracted the attention of several French journalists, and when I say journalists, I do not mean somebody from a small town and things like this. When I say French journalists, I mean journalists of the level of Monsieur Imbert, I've worked with him when he came to Albania, of Le Monde. So, first-rate French journalists. If first-rate French journalists are interested in this case, this means that they will dig interesting information regarding poor Hadi, regarding the mafia-style organization of MEK in France, and also French facilitators of this traffic in human beings. And it's not simply traffic in human beings. They have trafficked somebody who used to be a member of an ex-terrorist organization. Everybody knows that MEK was listed as a terrorist organization by State Department as late as 2012, 9 years ago. So one who had lived for years in closed camps, paramilitary camps, who was a member of an ex-terrorist organization, is labeled immediately as a security risk, as a security threat in France. So Hadi will have to deal with French gendarmerie and also with the French counter-terrorist guys. There. So this is the story of the poor Hadi.
Now, Gjergji, if we can,
I believe we will hear new things, new information about Hadi in the future. Yes, please.
Now, I'd like to know what is your assessment of the mafia network that the Mujahedin command controls from Albania into France, because we know that the illegal smuggling or human trafficking operation that happened in Albania was initiated, or at least Hadi, when he left Albania, he left in cooperation with the high military command of the Mojahedens. His letter, or at least the letter that his name was put in, because we do not know if it was Hadi who made the letter or not, was published by the person number 2 or number 3 in the Mujahedin command, Mehdi Abrichamtchi. So this implicates that the high military command of the Mujahedin army in Albania is implicated in human trafficking operations. The way how Hadi was smuggled from his friends, we know that he didn't have money to smuggle himself into France. And his friends have told us that he was paid by several Mujahedins in order to smuggle himself into France. And number 2 is what we know so far.
He didn't smuggle himself into France. Other people smuggled him into France.
Correct.
There's quite a difference.
Correct. And when he went to France, from at least what we know, he was hosted in a safe Mujahedin house. So we have a perfect terrorist operation going under the nose of the Albanian police, Albanian security services, Greek security services, French security services. So we have 3 NATO member countries where we have a clandestine ex-terrorist organization which runs a mafia-style operation. They take people from Albania, illegally cross them into Greece. They have safe houses there. They provide them with fake passports, and they smuggle them into France. And when these people are in France, they still are hosted there. They are given money. They have safe houses. And all this thing goes under the nose of the French police. And all this operation has been managed by the Mujahedin command of Maryam Rajavi, the cult, the head of the Mujahedin cult in Albania, which claims to be the person who will bring democracy and human rights and whatever you want in Iran. So this person who is being self-portrayed as the would-be Democrat of Iran is caught red-handed organizing a mafia smuggling operation in Europe. Now, as we mentioned in the letter that we wrote to several international personalities, and among others to the French Minister of Interior, we also mentioned that Albania has been used in the past to smuggle weapons to terrorists who carried the Nice terror attack in France. And the question that we raised in our letter is that what if Hadi or other people alongside with him have smuggled weapons from Albania into France? Number one. Number two is we know that MEK is really crazy about a forthcoming Iran nuclear deal, which the French government is negotiating. And we know that in the past, MEK has carried false flag terrorist declarations for so-called Iranian operations and in Europe to blame the government of Iran. You were the first journalist in Albania who exposed to the international community that there was no terrorist attack in March 2018 in Albania, but it was all a fake claimed operation by MEK in order to demonize Iran and to put pressure on European governments not to negotiate with Iran. And now in this critical point of time, when the Trump administration is no longer in power to support the Mojahedens, we have the Biden administration, which does not even want to have a look at them. What we are seeing is that we are seeing non-state actors, which is MEK, which is using Hadi, first of all, to make a big fake scandal to claim, look, we discovered Iranian agents in Albania who have this ex-Mois operative who wrote a letter and said so and so. We have, from the case of Hadi, has exposed to the international community the mafia network that MEK runs to smuggle humans and probably even weapons. And the third, the fear that we have is, what if, together with Hadi, MEK have smuggled weapons in Europe? What if MEK places Hadi in a car and makes a suicide bombing somewhere in Europe and blames it on Iran? So we have so many question marks, but what we know for sure is that the number two or number three or husband number one of Maryam Rajavi, Mehdi Abrichamtchi, has been in direct contact with Hadi, published his letter because they thought, okay, we're publishing the letter of this defector who has agreed in exchange for our smuggling and weapons to put so many lies in a letter. But what they did is that they exposed themselves. They exposed that they're dealing with somebody who has trafficked himself and who was helped by MEK to traffic himself. What is your take on this?
Well, you are too international, I'm afraid. I shall speak as an Albanian citizen and as an Albanian patriot. These people came to Albania as people who are in need of protection. That's to say, they entered Albania on humanitarian grounds. Now, they have grown into a security threat to my beloved country. I don't care much about France, about EU, etc., etc. I care first and foremost about my Albania. President Trump used to say, America first, to me it is Albania first. Let us deal a little bit with this security threat. I exposed in the last video that they had set up spy rings in Albania to gather information, to write reports, etc., etc. It is highly illegal. Our secret service called SHIK is responsible for counterintelligence work, and our SHIK has not carried out its duty. So, first, they have set up spy rings in Albania, violating Albanian law. Second, they are using my country to smuggle people to EU countries, meaning Albania is a kind of springboard for illegal activities. Albania has become a security threat to two other allies, NATO member countries, Greece and France, which are at the same time EU members. So, the good name of Albania is dragged into the mud by them. They are not smuggling just a young woman to work as a prostitute in Paris. No, they are smuggling somebody who has lived for years in an enclosed camp with thousands and thousands of ex-terrorists. I don't know whether poor Hadi has undergone military training. I don't know how good is he at firing a gun or preparing a bomb or an explosive booby trap, etc., etc. I know that he has lived in an enclosed paramilitary camp for years and years together with thousands of ex-terrorists. This is a bell of alarm to the French. So, my country is a source of risk to allied countries, to NATO member countries. One thing. Second thing, they, as you said, they have carried out false flag operations in the past. There is no obstacle that they will not try again. When I say that, I mean, and I don't want to have the name of Albania mixed with false flag operations, terrorist operations in on European soil. I am from Durrës, and I know that the weapons used by that Tunisian in Nisa attack, 2016, 14th of July, entered Italy through Durrës, and then from Italy ended in Nisa. It was a certain Enkelida Zace and her boyfriend, Mr. Khani, who made possible that these weapons ended in the hands of a terrorist as this Tunisian guy. So, a passeur, by the way, this Zace used to be a passeur. I have written about her 1 year before the terrorist attack in Nisa, and I said, today she's a passeur. Tomorrow she may smuggle drugs, she may smuggle weapons, ammunition, explosives into France. Nobody cared, and we had Nizza terrorist attack. Now I am warning the French authorities. Please be very careful. You can expect anything from poor Hadi. He is a drug addict. Please run some tests, blood tests, and you will come to this conclusion. So, a drug addict who has lived for years and years in an enclosed paramilitary camp with several thousand other ex-terrorists is very dangerous. This organization is a cult. They have no moral limits. They can do anything to forward their agenda. In the past, they have tried things against European countries in order to forward their political agenda against Tehran. I don't care what they do against Tehran. Huh? When the foreign minister of Tehran, Mr.
Javad Zarif. Javad
Yes,
Zarif.
Mr. Was going to visit Italy some 3 or 4 years ago. 4 years ago, they tried to organize a protest against him using Iranian diaspora in Italy and also Albanian young men. They paid everything, ferry boat ticket, hotel, etc., for them. There was that a terrorist attack in France, Bataclan affair, and DIGOS, special counter-terrorist police of Italy, intervened, and there was no protest. So they have tried, even in the past, to use such means in order to harm Tehran. Now that France, England, and also America are talking together how to deal with that nuclear deal of the past, I believe they are trying to do something in order to create problems to France, America, and UK in their relations with Iran. So there is quite a high probability that they might use poor Hadi for a false flag operation. I don't know whether he's armed or not, but there is quite a possibility. Furthermore, according to my sources of information, his telephone is dead. At first, he contacted people from France. Now his telephone is dead. I don't know what has happened. Is Hadi, or I would say poor Hadi, is he alive or not? Has he changed telephone number or what? If his telephone is dead, either Hadi is dead or Hadi is hiding to do something. I don't think he is hiding because he is engaging himself in charitable work. No. I repeat to the French authorities, please investigate. Investigate it because maybe something sinister is boiling in the pot. Maybe something sinister is boiling in the pot. I'm sorry that my country has become a security concern to other NATO member countries because my country chose to shelter on humanitarian grounds the ex-terrorists of Rajavi Cult. One of them is now in France in hiding, and he is a drug addict. Tramadol is the controlled substance he takes. It is part of the family of the opiates, meaning it originates from opium. And doctors, police officers know what opium and the opiates can do to the human brain. More than a year ago, he was a drug addict. Now he continues to be a drug addict using tramadol. Keep it in mind, dear French security officers who are dealing with the security risk. Up to a fortnight ago or so, he was very close to Paris in a small town near the river I don't know how it is pronounced in French because I don't speak French. Maybe an ex-mayor of a small town in the area gave a helping hand to Hadi. These are not riddles, I'm saying. I'm just showing that I'm not bluffing. I know things. This is my last warning. Please be careful. This cult has no moral limit. They can do anything to further their sinister agenda. This is not the problem to help Mullah's regime in Tehran, to bootlicking the masters of Tehran, etc., etc. It is a security risk to France. Please take care of it. As a journalist, I cannot do more than this.
Gjergji,
are more Quislings than authorities.
If we can shift our discussion to the situation of Mujahedins inside Albania. You have proven through your photographs that we have mass infections and deaths among the Mujahedins, and Rajavi is trying to find graves for her dead jihadi soldiers. On the other hand, we have the Albanian government who is, in a way, keeping silent about the crimes of the Rajavi cult. The case of Hadi has proven to the international community that exists a smuggling network, a human trafficking network, which is run by the Mujahedin from Albania. Hadi was not the first Mujahedin to be sent to Europe. We have heard that there are even other people who MEK smuggles them into Europe, especially young Mujahedins who do not want to stay in the camp anymore. They are fed up with Rajavi. And in order to win their loyalty, Rajavi helps them to smuggle themselves into Europe. So Hadi is not the first case. We have even other cases. Now, the question is this: why the Albanian government, especially during the era of Trump, was overzealous to punish the defectors of the Mujahedins? For example, we have the case of Mr. Gola Rezam Shakari, who is in jail and probably has even been sentenced only for driving somebody from his home to a bus station in Tirana. Under the
he was sentenced first degree. I don't know about his appeal.
Okay.
Only because he drove an Iranian guy from almost downtown Tirana to the bus terminal in Tirana.
Yes.
Tirana is at least 150 kilometers away from Albanian-Montenegro border. So he is kept in prison for helping somebody to cross the border illegally, yes. 150 kilometers away from the border. Now we have poor Hadi, who was spirited away from Tirana to Paris, and nobody is investigated, let alone ending in jail. Maybe we have a case of Star Trek Next Generation, and just like in this science fiction movie, Mr. Hadi is transported from Tirana to Paris.
Now,
and Maryam Rajavi is Lieutenant Tashayar, and Abrichamtchi is Lieutenant Data, that android. Yeah, android with mustache. Yeah.
They look like Obi Kenobi. He looks like Obi Kenobi. Now, the question is this: the Albanian authorities jail a defector, Gola Rezam Shakari, only because Maryam Rajavi is fighting a dirty war. I would repeat it: a dirty, a nasty war against the rebellion within her Mujahedin camp and against the defectors. So, because Maryam Rajavi hates Gola Rezam Shakari and many other defectors, she is using and misusing Albanian security services and police to jail somebody like Gola Rezam Shakari. We have the example of Ehsan Bidi, who last year in August was smuggled into Greece. I repeat for the Europeans and security experts who listen and follow our videos. He was smuggled into Greece, probably on orders of Mehdi Abrichamtchi and Maryam Rajavi, maybe even on money and bribes paid to Albanian police.
He was smuggled into Greece by Albanian police officers, plainclothes officers, and also uniformed police officers.
And after being smuggled, and the media scandal that me and you and the MP Kuitim Juzi did, denouncing this state smuggling operation on behalf of the Mujahedin, he was left free, and later on he was jailed. Until this moment, he's in a detention center near Durrës in Karets for no reason at all. The only reason is because he is the opposition of the jihadi cult of Maryam Rajavi. So while we have the Albanian government who is siding with these terrorists, these ex-terrorists, these criminals, we have open in the middle of the day, proven beyond doubt, that the number 2 person probably of the Mujahedin organization, because probably Masoud Rajavi has died and maybe Maryam Rajavi goes back with Mehdi like in the old days, we have proven beyond doubt to the whole planet that the boyfriend of Maryam Rajavi, Mehdi Abrichamtchi, maybe he's now, maybe they return. He is ex, but maybe he returned because Masoud died.
Yes, Viagra makes
miracles. So we have the boyfriend or the ex-boyfriend, the terrorist, the ex-terrorist, the fedayeen of Saddam Hussein, the ex-fedayeen of Saddam Hussein, Mehdi Abrichamtchi, the head of the Security Committee Against Terrorism, and I don't know what bullshit they call it, prove beyond doubt that this person is communicating with Hadi. Now, my question to the Albanian government, but even to NATO and American and French security officials is, have you, sir, called the Interior Minister of Albania, Mr. Blendi Čuçi, and asked him if there is an investigation against Mehdi Abrichamtchi? Have the police called him as a suspect? We have an illegal human trafficking operation which has happened in Albania, beyond doubt, paid by MEK spies, the MEK spying network. And my question is, when the Albanian government is very eager to arrest the defectors and claim that you are smugglers because you drive a guy 5 kilometers from your home to a bus station, now that we have a proof, and this question goes even to SPAC, to the special, what do you call it, prosecutor office or
blah, blah, blah.
So, yeah, well, and my question goes even to the American ambassador, who is the godfather of this great institution for investigating corruption in Albania, what have you. Have these people questioned Mehdi Abrichamtchi? Will the Albanian government dare to jail Mehdi Abrichamtchi like they jail Gola Rezan Shakari? To our French friends and colleagues who are concerned about the export of ex-foreign fighters into France, are you going to question Maryam Rajavi and Mehdi Abrichamtchi? This is my question. Gjergji, your last take 5 minutes and we close it.
Okay. I would like to thank the head of the Rajavi Cult, Maryam Rajavi, for the last lie about me being paid 1,000 euros a month.
Me too.
And also receiving the envelope at home, just like a pizza boy that Hayran Hassan, what is his name? He delivered the envelopes with euros, just like a pizza boy. This is very nice.
Gjergji, last time we said that we need 10,000 euro per month. So Rajavi still is insulting us by claiming that we get 1,000 and through an envelope, very primitive ways. At least we need to be paid by Bitcoin. What do you think about that?
Internet computers are not my forte, so I will prefer in cash, but I stick to 10,000 euros.
10,000
This is not negotiable. 10,000 euros. And in order to prove that I really, value is really 10,000 euros a month, I'd like to add something. Ursula, that representative of EU, Ursula Johansson, visited Albania, and the other things she was informed of this case. She was also informed that a Rajavi cult maybe is trying to smuggle somebody, one of the ex-fighters, ex-members of MEK, into Sweden, the homeland, the fatherland of Ursula, the representative of EU. This is very great. In order to show to Rajavi that I'm not bluffing, I would like to add that the person who is in the process of being smuggled into Sweden is somebody with tattoos on his body. So, Rajavi, I do know things. Don't try to smuggle anymore your ex-fighters into Europe. Albania should pay no price for your legal activities, criminal activities. So, you are in Albania on humanitarian grounds, and smuggling people, ex-fighters, into EU countries is not something humanitarian. It is against the law. European law, Albanian law. You are violating the law. Got it, lady? You are violating the law. If not today, tomorrow, you will pay a price for violating EU law, Albanian law. That's it.
So you told this information to Ylva Johansson, European Commission?
No, I didn't tell her. I didn't tell her. I told her nothing. I told her nothing. A bird went to her and said something. It is just a bird. Yeah.
So as a European Commissioner for Home Affairs, I really hope that the European Union will take seriously and probably even have a look at our video now.
I know only this, but I said no word. I told nothing. I know that she was, that's it.
Oh, she was informed. Okay, that's good. So I hope that European security officials, the French, the Greeks, everybody takes note of what the leader of the Iranian opposition, Free Iran, I stand with Maryam Rajavi, regime change in Iran, whatever bullshit they invent, and they try to paint this ex-terrorist cold-blooded killer. At least I hope that our European colleagues will take note of what MEK is doing. At the same time, I hope that Albanian security services, I repeat it again, Albanian police, will take note and will question Maryam Rajavi and Mehdi Abrichamtchi. We are on record, Gjergji, we are on YouTube. European Commission Home Affairs Minister knows it. The French knows it. Everybody knows it. Albania is serving as a bastion for exporting ex-terrorists, foreign fighters.
As a springboard, This is the exact term, as a springboard.
And we have our government, NATO, European security agencies have to do something. And I very much hope that the Albanian government will also do something and will stop what is going on in Albania with the Mujahedin command. Now, my final thoughts, if you allow me, is that I really hope, like you do, that Hadi to be safe and to survive. Like you, I'm afraid that he might even be killed in order to leave no witnesses behind for what has happened. The Mujahedin command has been caught red-handed, committing a crime, trafficking, a smuggling operation. Hadi is a living witness to what has happened. And also, as we mentioned in our letter that we sent to many European personalities, is that the EU, NATO, whatever, they should ask the Albanian government that MEK should stop its persecution of the Iranians in Albania. They should stop the persecution of the Mujahedins who want to de-radicalize themselves. detach themselves from the jihadi organization and live a civilian life. I also hope that international humanitarian organizations, Amnesty International and others, they'll take note of the miserable conditions that exist in Albania among the Mojahedens. The story of Hadi is really a sad story. A person who didn't have work permit but was illegally working in Albania, who left the MEK from the first days, and probably out of desperation and in exchange for going to France, he accepted to put his name, or maybe he didn't even put his name, into a letter where he accuses journalists like me and you as being agents or on payroll of Iran, or this Hassan Hirani, this mysterious, mythical Hassan Hirani, who brings us every month 1,000 euros on envelope. I wish Hassan could give us 1,000. If he gives us, we will show it on YouTube that, hello, Maryam, here we got our salary. Is a payday.
10,000 euro.
It's a payday. Let's have a coffee. I mean, we will treat Maryam if we really get that kind of money. Gjergji, anything else before I close?
I want an appeal, half a minute. Hadi, we have met together, we have talked together, we drank tea together, we shook hands together. My appeal to you is a cold cell in a French prison is a much better choice than the cold waters of Sierra River or Ice River, or the cold French soil. Please, Hadi, you should choose well. You should choose a cold French cell. A French prison is much safer than you staying at large somewhere in France. Don't trust Rajavi Cult, Hadi, for the sake of your parents, for the sake of your family, for the sake of your life. You can overcome your addiction to drugs. You can create a new life. Hadi, don't trust the cult. Save your life. Goodbye, Hadi.
I have the same advice for Hadi. Hadi, wherever you are, please call the police, wherever you are. Notify them about your location, about your smugglers, how they smuggled you, if they are doing pressure to you to issue fake letters and declarations. Surrender yourself to the police wherever you are and save yourself from the unpredictable cult of Rajavi. You know what they have done with other Mujahedins in the past, they can do it with you as well. Be careful and be safe. Gjergji, thank you for coming on my
Thank
YouTube. Be safe in Albania, and to everybody who watches us, I wish them a safe days ahead in this era of madness, of lockdowns, coronavirus, what have you. Bye bye to everybody. Assalamu alaikum. See you again.
Bye.